You know, the histories of activism in our community has been something that has been very strong. At the same time, we have to understand that before integration, activists in the community was hard to recognize if you were looking for a black tam, a black jacket, and army fatigues. The black activist was something that you could look up to and look to. So I will address those histories as they have been recorded in the research we have been able to do up to this point. Today, for the lives of our children, erasing away all fantasies, myths, and origins of the miseducation of African peoples is a very just concern. The grassroots activism of histories of the communities called Southeast Greensboro, people by stern, hardworking citizens, even a lot of times enchanted because children were a part of this legacy as well, for they were dreamers, and the elders were the dream makers that made those times go round. George Simpkins was there for the African American community long before the popularity of his NAACP endorsements, as well as voter registration drives from his dental office on Bidrow Road. The late Vance Chavis, instructor of physics at Dudley Senior High School. The library entitled to his name does do merit to his honors. Dr. John Tarpley, former principal of James B. Dudley High School. Jimmy I. Barber, Sunday school teacher and community leader. Mr. Walter Carson, former band director of North Carolina A&T College Band. The late Sherman Williamson Sr., musician. His wife, Essie Williamson, was right here at Windsor Center as the director. The evidence Mr. and Mrs. Henry Fry contributions were in education before politics was ever any kind of attribute. In the 1940s, Mr. Purvis delivered ice before refrigeration was in. Mr. Harvey Marks was the owner and repairman for Mark's Shoe Shop. Mrs. Mamie E. Combs was a cook at the Boxwood Inns on the corner of Mendenhall and Market Streets. When a young John Marshall Stevenson, later to be known as Kilimanjaro, with a young editor by the name of Nelson Johnson, first published the Carolina Peacemaker. The Mr. James Johnson at that time was the only black newspaper that the Future Outlook was its name, and had employed many young black males and some females. His wife Gertrude, an English teacher at Lincoln Junior High School. Mr. David Moorhead Sr. and son were major human reasons why the YMCA programs were available to character building success rates. Jabril Kassan, aka Ezel Blair Jr., former A&T college student, activist, 1961 Woolworth sit-ins activist, as well as Mr. Jesse Jackson, again a student, again in latter times activist, being a voice. Professor Claude Bonds, also an A&T student, at one point in time was a Black Panther, and was also nominated and elected to student council at Lincoln Junior High School. From the obvious opposition facing him, and the list goes on, Sam Penn Sr., one of the first black police officers, and his wife, Eloise Penn, musical director for all the elementary schools. At that time, integration did not exist. As citizens now, we have a task to challenge the imbalance. We must achieve to uplift the scholarship of our youth and not the fall of man. He who teaches you most of what you know about yourself now controls most of what you do for yourself later. Thank you very much.